welcome to our YouTube channel Scratch Learners. Today we are going to start a new topic, that is microprocessor. In this playlist we will mainly focus on 8085 microprocessor. So let's get started. So the first question which may arise is that what is microprocessor? So the microprocessor is a programmable integrated device that has computing and decision making capability just like CPU. So microprocessor is programmable. That means we can feed some input, we can do some processing, and we will get an output according to the input. And it works just like CPU. So I think you know the block diagram of computer. A computer has four components: the memory, input output, and the CPU, right? And the CPU consists of ALU and CU, and it also consists of some instruction decoder, counters, and control lines. And how does the computer works? In the computer, CPU reads instruction from memory and perform the specified task, and it communicates with the input and output devices to accept the data or to send the data. So the CPU is the primary and the central player in communicating with devices such as memory, input, and output. In the same way, we can consider microprocessor as a CPU, in which the microprocessor system consists of three functional blocks: CPU, input output, and memory unit. So this is the CPU part, this is the input output, and this is the memory unit. And what does CPU consist of? CPU consists some registers, ALU, and a control unit. The ALU performs arithmetic and logical operations, and the control unit translates the instruction and executes the desired task. And a computer with a microprocessor as its CPU is known as microcomputer. Now, one question you may have in your mind is that how the microprocessor system works. That means how they communicate. So, the microprocessor communicates and operates in binary numbers, that is 0 and 1, and they are called bits, right? And each microprocessor has a fixed set of instructions in the form of binary patterns called a machine language. And we already know any machine works using the binary digits 0 and 1, but it is difficult for humans to communicate in the languages of zeros and ones. So the binary instructions are given some names called mnemonics, which forms the assembly language. So the assembly language or the mnemonics are the communication links between the machine and the human. So whatever instruction we will feed, it will be converted to mnemonics, and using that mnemonics, the machine will execute its work. In this way, a microprocessor system works. So I think now you have a brief idea about microprocessor. Now let's discuss about 8085 microprocessor. So what is 8085 microprocessor? The Intel 8085 microprocessor is a 40-pin IC, and it uses a power supply of 5 volt. It can run at a maximum frequency of 3 MHz. Okay. So the 8085 microprocessor is a 8-bit microprocessor. Why it is of 8-bit? Because its data length and data bus width is 8-bit. So we can transfer the data of maximum 8-bit. And it has an addressing capability of 16-bit. So it can address 2 to the power 16, that is 64 KB of memory. Now you may have doubt how this 16-bit memory can address 64 KB of memory. If we have 3 bits, okay, so we can have maximum 8 possible combination out of this, right? And that is equals to 2 to the power 3. So 2 to the power 3 equals to 8. So 8 bits of memory can be addressed. Similarly here, the addressing capability of microprocessor is 16 bits, right? So it can address 2 to the power 16 bytes of memory. So we can write it as 2 to the power 10 into 2 to the power 6. And 2 to the power 10 is equals to 1 KB, right? This is in bytes. So 2 to the power 10 is equals to 1 KB, and 2 to the power 6 equals to 64. So we get 64 KB of memory. So in this way, 8085 microprocessor can address 64 KB of memories. So this is the basic thing about 8085 microprocessor. Now let's see the block diagram of 8085 microprocessor. So this is the block diagram of 8085 microprocessor. And the 8085 microprocessor has 5 functional units, and they are ALU, that is this part, arithmetic logic unit. Second one is general purpose registers, that means these registers B, C, D, E and HL. Special purpose registers, that means accumulator, flag register, program counter and stack pointer. You can see here is the accumulator, this is the flag register, this is the program counter and this is the stack pointer. The fourth one is instruction register and decoder, that means this part. Okay, this is the fourth part. And the timing and control unit, so this is the fifth functional unit. So these are the major component of 8085 microprocessor. Now let's know in details about all these functional units. So firstly, starting with the ALU, we know ALU is the circuitry that performs the actual numerical and logical operations. So what are the arithmetic operations that is performed by ALU? They are addition, subtraction, increment, decrement and comparison. Similarly, the logical operations which are performed by ALU are AND, OR, XOR and complement. The next one is general purpose register. So these are the general purpose register. The main thing you need to understand here is the function of general purpose registers, or in short we can say it as GPR. So the GPR are used to store only the data that is being used by the program during execution and the result obtained from it. So we can have a specific value in the B register and we can have a specific value in the C register. We can add them or perform any operation on these contents and we can store the content in those registers only. So this is the main function of GPRs, and these GPR are easily accessible by the users during program. In almost all the arithmetic and logic operations, these registers are used as a second operand and the first operand is the accumulator. So whatever operation we are performing, the first operand will be stored in accumulator and the second operand will be stored in one of these registers. And coming to the size of these GPRs, these all GPRs are of 8 bits. So these are 8 bits registers, but they can be handled as 16-bit registers as well by pairing. So if we are having an input of 8 bit, then these registers can alone handle the operation. But if the input we are taking is of 16 bit, right? So in that case, these registers can pair up, and if they are paired up, then the total address size will be what? 8 plus 8, that is 16, right? So when we pair up these registers, then they can handle 16-bit data also. Now here one restriction is that they can be paired in this way only. That means B can be paired with C only, D can be paired with E, H can be paired with L. We can't pair like B with E, H with C. This is not done. And here the HL pair registers works as a memory pointer. So this is the memory register. For example, if we have any operation like move A, M, that means this M is memory. Okay. So whatever content is present in the memory, we need to move it to A. What is A? A is the accumulator. So this move A, M will transfer the content of memory location to which HL pair is pointing to the accumulator. Let the address of the memory M be C050. Okay. This be a random address, and at this location we have stored some data, example 15. So this statement move A, M will move the content 15 from memory to accumulator. So this is about the general purpose register. Now let's see the functions of special purpose registers. So as the name suggests, these are dedicated to a specific function, and these are the special purpose registers. Accumulator is the most important 8-bit registers of ALU, and it is used to perform the arithmetic and logic operations. And the most important thing is that the output of all the operations is stored in the accumulator. we have seen that the accumulator will always be the first operand and the second operand will be any one of these. So as the accumulator is the first operand, all the operations that are performed, their result will be stored in the accumulator itself. And this accumulator can hold 1 byte data at a time. And the 8085 microprocessor communicates with the input and output devices through accumulator. Now the next special purpose register is the flag register. That means this one, right? So the flag register is also a 8-bit register and it is used to indicate the status of the recent arithmetic or logic operation. So let this be the flag register. Okay, this is of 8-bit. So we have bits D0, D1, D2, D3, D4, D5, D6 and D7. Right, these are the 8 bits of the flag register and here it contains some data in these bits. Although the flag register is of 8 bit, there are only 5 flags that are being used and these are the sign flag, zero flag, auxiliary carry, parity and the carry flag. The remaining 3 bits, that is the bit D1, D3 and D5 of the flag registers remains unassigned. So they are of no use. Now let's have a short definition of all these bits. So the first one, that is the most significant bit, that is the bit D7 is the sign flag. And this flag indicates the sign of the number. So if a number is negative, then in the most significant bit we will store 1. And if the number is positive number, then we will store 0 here. Then the next one is zero flag. The zero flag is set. That means the zero flag contains 1 if an arithmetic operation results in a 0. That means if in any addition or in any subtraction, if the result we get is 0, then we will store 1 in the D7 bit of the flag register. Then the next is auxiliary carry flag. So when a carry generated from the D3 bit is shifted to the bit D4, then the auxiliary carry flag will be set to 1. Otherwise, it will be set to 0. Then the next flag is the parity flag. And this parity flag is 1 if the content of the accumulator after an arithmetic operation has an even number of ones. So if it has even number of ones, then we will store 1 there. If it is having odd number of ones, then we will store 0 there. So it depends on whether we are taking even parity or odd parity. Then the last flag register is the carry flag. So this carry flag is set to 1 when a carry generated in the process of arithmetic operation in the accumulator. So whenever a carry generates, then we will set this bit to 1. And in case of subtraction, if a borrow generates, then also this bit will be set to 1. So we have discussed the flag register. Now let's come to program counter. So this is the program counter and this is a 16-bit register that always points to the address of the next instruction to be executed. If we consider that the memory is now pointing to the address 1000, okay, so the next address to be fetched, if it is 1001, then this content 1001 will be stored in the program counter. So after execution of every instruction, the content of the memory location indicated by PC is moved to the instruction register. So when the memory pointing to this location, this is pointed by the instruction register and the next instruction to be fetched is pointed by the program counter. So in a gist, we can say that program counter keeps track of a program by counting the memory address from which the next byte is to be fetched. And we know all the address in the microprocessor are of 16-bit. So to transfer the addresses, we need 16-bit register. That is why program counter is of 16-bit. Then the next one is stack pointer. That means this one, right? So as we know, stack is an array of memory location organized in LIFO order. That means last in, first out. We know a stack looks like this, right? And we go on putting the elements in the top of the stack. And when we pop the element, it will be popped in the last in, first out order. So this stack is accessed using a 16-bit pointer called the stack pointer. So the top content will be pointed by stack pointer. So what is the use of stack pointer in microprocessor? It is used to store the return address of the main program when a function is called. In microprocessor, we call a function as subroutine. Okay, so whenever a subroutine is being called, the return address will be stored in the stack pointer. The fourth part is the instruction register and decoder. So these are the instruction register and instruction decoder. And this is the 8-bit register that temporarily stores the instruction drawn from the memory location before their actual execution. So I have already told you that whatever instruction is being executed, its address will be stored in the instruction register. And what is the function of this decoder? Whatever content this register is having, that will be decoded, and using that we will decide what type of operations is needed to be performed with the data. The last part is the timing and control unit. So this is the timing and control unit, and this unit gets command from the instruction decoder and issues the signal on the data bus, address bus and the control bus. So see here, this is the 8-bit internal data bus. Okay, this is the data bus and we are getting the input through instruction register, then it will be decoded and then it will be passed to the timing and control unit. Now this timing and control unit gets command and it will issue some signals. Here the signals are clock out, ready, RD bar, WR bar, ALE, S0, S1, IOM bar, hold, HLDA, reset in bar and reset out. We will understand about all these signals in the next videos. So after executing here, it will transfer the data through these lines. Okay, these are the buses. This is the interrupt control part. That means if an interrupt is generated while executing the program, then how we will handle those interrupts and the processing of the microprocessor. So that is regulated by the interrupt control, and these are the signals issued by the interrupt control part. These are INTR, INTA bar, RST, 5.5, 6.5, 7.5 and trap. And this is the serial input output control, and this also issued two signals, serial input and serial output. We have already discussed about these parts. Here this is the address latch enable. That means this is a pulse which is provided when an address appears on the AD0 to AD7 lines. Here we have the most significant 8 bits as the address buffer, and the data and address buffer are multiplexed here. Okay, so depending on the address latch, we will demultiplex this address and data bus lines. So this is all about the block diagram of microprocessor. We will understand about the demultiplexing process of address and data bus and about all these signals in the next videos. So see you in the next video. Thank you.